Yo, what is good, guys? So I'm going a little bit off script for this video because it's going to be mainly more of a discussion slash conversation with type of video between me and you. You know, two friends, dos amigos. As if I was just trying to catch up on my One Piece and then you hit my lineup like,
Yo, did you hear about the new Persona announcements coming this month?
did I hear about the new Persona announcements?
That is what I just asked you, yes.
Boy, if you don't. So for those of you that for some reason don't know or have been living under a rock, Atlus has announced the production of numerous titles moving forward ahead in the Persona, Shin Megami Tensei, all that series. You know, essentially letting us know that they have stuff in the works for these franchises. Now, speaking on Persona specifically, because that is why we're here today, Atlus has announced that they have numerous projects going underway for Persona as is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about what my theories are, what I personally think they got going under the hood, as well as my general thoughts and opinions on what they should be focusing on and what I want them to focus on, if that makes sense. Let's get right into it, shall we? So like I said earlier, Atlus has announced the production of numerous projects underway, again, specifically about Persona, for the Persona 25th anniversary. Now, this website is not new by any means. It actually came out a while ago. All these announcements came out a while ago, but I put off making this video mainly because I wanted to wait and see how the crowd reacted, see if there was any new leaks or information that may slip between then and now, because it was still pretty far off when they announced it between then and the 25th anniversary, which, by the way, nobody knows exactly when it's going to be announced. We're all just assuming the date, but considering that it's Persona's 25th anniversary, and as you can see with the website, that's the whole shebang going on right now, we know for a fact that there are going to be, again, announcements this month in September. Now, going off that, it is safe to assume that all of this stuff is going to start popping off at around September the 20th, the actual date of the 25th anniversary of Persona. That being said, they're not going to announce every single thing this month. They're just starting announcements this month. So they're going to be starting an announcement this month, and then there's going to be one next month, etc, etc. So before I get into what I actually think they may be releasing or what they may be working on in the works, what the f. Now, before I start getting into what I personally believe they are working on and what they've got going on behind the scenes, first and foremost, we're directing our attention to the website, because as of right now, this is basically the main source of information we got to go by when we want to try to figure stuff out. So what I want to do is I actually want to start by reading this little paragraph in the intro. As you see here, we got Persona 25th anniversary, we got Joker, we got Makoto, I actually don't know the names of Persona 1 and Persona 2's protagonists because I have not played those. But let me just quick read this little insert. It's starting Persona 25th anniversary year. In 2021, the Persona series exceeded the cumulative worldwide sales of 15 million units and was able to celebrate the 25th anniversary of its birth. We would like to express our sincere gratitude and gratitude to all those who have watched over and supported us for a long time. With a new feeling of gratitude to everyone, we will continue to develop a lot of fun as Persona 25th anniversary year for about 1 year from September 2021 to autumn of 2022. Please look forward to various anniversaries, such as 25th commemorative goods, various events, collaborations, and of course, game information. So it's a nice little need to have thing, and a nice little directive comment to the audience, to us, the players, letting us know that they know that we care. They know, they hear us, they actually care for us, and they're working on something. Just be patient, we got y'all. But then you scroll down and you see Persona 25th anniversary project 2021 to 2022, and you see it beginning in September of 2021. Now that's all fine and good, but what I was looking at specifically was if you scroll down and you actually count the number of announcements there's going to be, it sort of helps me personally deduce what exactly they may be leaning towards in terms of announcements and releases. So if you count them, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 announcements in total that they are planning to release between now and autumn of next year. So that gives us essentially 7 different ideas that they could be working on and preparing to announce. Now, I believe that one of these has to be something to do with Persona 3. Whether it's a remake, whether it's a port, Persona 3 is going to be a thing. Now, I did hear floating around the Twitter space that there has been leaks or theories, whatever the case may be. I don't really look into it because whenever it comes to leaks, I don't like looking into it too much, because I mean, leaks just suck as is because it ruins the hype, ruins the anticipation, the surprise factor. I have heard people talking about there have been leaks or rumors about a Persona 3 remake. I personally think that is most likely to happen. Now, this may be a little bit biased considering that Persona 3 as a base Persona game is my favorite. You know, Persona 5 Royal is my favorite in terms as an overall game, but Persona 3 is my favorite first time experience playthrough. Now, why would they do a remake of Persona 3 and not a remake of Persona 4? If you ask me, I think it has to do with Persona 3 as a whole, not only from the story but from a gameplay perspective. The story of Persona 3 is massive. Like, there's a lot to unpack. We're not going to get into that today. Actually, I have a video in the works explaining why I think Persona 3 story is the best in the series. Y'all can look forward to that later, shameless plug. But yeah, there was a lot to unpack with the story. I'm not going to get into any of the spoilers or nothing. But again, not even just in the story, but from a gameplay perspective. Persona 3 was the first to do a lot of things. It was the first 3D Persona game. It was the first one to introduce confidants. So it was not the best when it came out. It was not the most polished Persona game by any means. Now, if they were to remake the game, not only could they add additional content to the already existing game, but they could also go back and fix some of the problems that the original game had from a development point of view. Again, because it was the first to do a lot of things, and it being the first and experimenting with a lot of things, the confidants weren't 100% as solid as they are in Persona 5. Graphics, neither here or there. You know, the actual gameplay of the game, for me personally, one of my biggest gripes with Persona 3 was the combat. Not because the combat was bad, but because they force you to only take control of the player character and you can't control the rest of your party. That is number one thing that they either need to fix in a remake or fix in the port. But again, yeah, I think a remake as opposed to a port is a little bit reachy, but at the same time, I could see it happening and kind of want it to happen as opposed to just a port. Because when I was playing the Persona dancing games and Persona 4 specifically, seeing the updated models, I was like, oh, this is really cool to see them essentially HDified compared to what they were originally. At least they were HDified. But then when I was playing Persona 3 dancing, I was seeing some scenes, some of the scenarios, some of the environments from the original Persona 3 that they used for the dancing game, as well as the characters, and I was just like, this game is so fucking beautiful. Imagine if it got remade. And I'm sure by now, if you've known me for a while, you know that I am a proud and heavy advocate of pushing playing Persona 3. Persona 3 is a must play eventually. The story is so good, it must be, the whole game must be experienced at least once. And if you were to remake that game, people that play Persona 5, because one of the main issues that people have is going back to play dated games. Persona 3 is to a degree dated. Like I said, from a gameplay perspective, there's a lot of things that they have fixed and tweaked since then in the most recent games that could be worked on. But people, especially people that have just gotten into Persona through Persona 5, they don't really like going back to playing Persona 4 or playing Persona 3 because of how the games are and how they're dated, the dungeons, the gameplay, all of that. It's really hard to keep them captured in wanting to invest in the other Persona games, even though you know for a fact they would love them because they loved Persona 5. But overall, a Persona 3 remake, a Persona 3 port, something along those lines is what I'm seeing happening. That takes up one slot. Now, obviously, another one of these slots would have to be Persona 6. That much is a given. We've seen articles about Atlus hosting interviews to beef up their development team. You know, they're actually building a team for all separate things, a team for Persona and Persona dancing games, like anything Persona, a team for Shin Megami games, and they've actually been announced that Persona 6, they are working on Persona 6 because they said that living up to a hype of Persona 5 is something that they're struggling on figuring out how to go forward with Persona 6 works. So if anything, we know that Persona 6 is in the works. So one of these would obviously be Persona 6. What would it be about? Would it be gameplay? Would it just be a teaser trailer, just a title, Persona 6, and then like a flash of the character's face? Who knows? That's a whole video for a different day on my thoughts on what I think Persona 6 should have and what I would like Persona 6 to have. Moving on, you could throw in one of these being like a merch drop. Like they said, commemorative goods, events, collaborations. So I would chalk one of these up to being a merch, a goods drop essentially, either whether it be figures like my Kasumi one up here, whether it would be actual merchandise that you can wear. Who knows? Another thing would be collaborations and events. Now, in terms of collaborations, I don't know exactly where they could go with that. I assume what they mean by collaborations is the obvious, like how Joker got into Smash, collaborations like that with other video game developers and video game companies. But off the top of the dome, I really can't see anything that they would be doing with this right now. I mean, if I were to take a guess, I would have to lean towards either another RPG game of some sort as opposed to like another Smash or whatever. You know, this is a big reach. I don't think this will happen, but just as an example, maybe something could come in the future for Final Fantasy 14. Final Fantasy 14 is popping off. Persona 5 has popped off. There could be an event like they're doing right now with Final Fantasy 15 and Final Fantasy 14, though you know, it's not exactly the same. Again, I don't think that's going to happen, but just to give an example of what I would think is what they would be leaning towards, because I honestly don't know what kind of collaborations they would be doing right now. All right, so going back to games, I think another one of these is going to have to be something to do with Persona 1 and 2. Like I told you guys earlier, a lot of people that play Persona 5 and got into Persona through Persona 5 can't play Personas 4 and 3. It's not that they don't want to, they genuinely can't play them because the games are so dated compared to Persona 5. Only true Persona fans would go through and play Persona 4 and Persona 3, especially the way that the dungeons are, especially with, you know, Persona 3, the way a lot of the gameplay features are. It was definitely a truck for me as a Persona fan. Now, that being said, I'm not out of it yet. I was able to get through Persona 4, I was able to get through Persona 3. But Persona 3 is where I personally draw the line. I can't go any further back in terms of playing the games. If I want to get story, I might watch some cutscenes on YouTube, but I honestly think that Atlus is going to do something with Personas 1 and 2 that I'm still holding out on that, so I could go in spoiler free. But Personas 1 and 2 are beyond dated when it comes to Persona games. Now, are they bad games? I don't know, I never played them. But you cannot expect someone that played Persona 5 to go back and be like, let me see where these games all started and play Personas 1 and 2 and have as much of a good time as they did with Persona 5. They'll most likely get bored. They'll most likely not want to deal with the gameplay of what it is. Not saying it's bad gameplay, but it's not as shiny and it's not as fluid as Persona 5. So it's definitely jarring to go back then. It's jarring enough to go from Persona 5 to Persona 4. Whether these are going to be ports, whether they're going to be an HD collection, I don't know how they would do an HD collection of like that style of graphics. I personally think out of, you know, I talked about earlier about Persona 3 having a remake. If there were to be one definitive game to have a remake, it would have to be Personas 1 and 2. Whether it be a bundle deal, whether they be separate, Personas 1 and 2 need to be remade. Now, I say need to be remade simply because I want to experience the story of those games. But I don't necessarily know if those stories or those games are as good as recent Persona games. So maybe they don't need it to be remade, but they need something to be done with them so that people like me and other Persona fans that can't go back and play those games or genuinely don't want to ruin the experience by playing the games because they're so dated, there needs to be a way for us to be able to consume it outside of just going on YouTube and reading up a story summary. All right, and then for the last one or two, it's kind of up in the air. I don't really know exactly what else they would be developing. It's most likely going to be an event thing or more merch things, you know, such as like a Persona World Tour concert things, same like how Kingdom Hearts did the World Orchestra. It's honestly a toss-up for the last two. I don't know what else it would be, because like I said earlier, Persona 6 is definitely a thing. Something with Persona 3 is definitely a thing, and Personas 1 and 2, they've got to do something with those. If they don't, I would be surprised. But considering this is taking the span of a year essentially all the way until autumn of next year, say they announce Persona 3 remake now, by the time they announce Personas 1 and 2 remake next year, Persona 3 remake would have already, you know, been a thing, hopefully, and it's time to announce their next game, which could be Persona 6 or Personas 1 or 2 or whatever. But I think that's pushing the envelope as is with Persona 3, Persona 6, and Personas 1 and 2. I think that's pushing it on game stuff. So if I were to fill these last two in with things that I would personally want, that most likely will never happen, but just do a little fanboying here, I would love a Persona 5 Strikers game with Persona 4 and Persona 3. Persona 4 could easily do it because it's a world inside the TV, just like the metaverse, so you could literally just set up any landscapes you want and go from there. On top of the combat, you know, Chie is a martial artist, Yukiko uses a fan, like the diversity in weapons is the same, if not more diverse than Persona 5, so they could definitely do something there. Persona 3 would be a little bit more of a trick because, you know, it takes place in Tartarus, essentially the majority of it. And if it's not in Tartarus, then it's in the real world. But I would love that just cause as is. But yeah, I mean, that's essentially all that I could think of in terms of the Persona 25th anniversary. We really don't have a lot to go on. In the things that we do have to go on, I've stated before, you know, the obvious Persona 6, Persona 3, people have heard leaks of that being remade, ported, whatever. Now, of course, this is all assumptions. This is all speculations. This is all theorizing. This is all me taking an educated guess. However, the majority of these are shots in the dark because they could be whatever. The announcements honestly could be whatever. Regardless, this is going to be a juicy year for Persona fans, and I cannot wait to see where they go from here. And until next time, it's been Vel. I love your faces, and I'm out. Peace.